Okay. I think it's a good time we talk about who are the borrowers. What I want to know is what's the typical profile of your borrowers, which is your clients essentially. How and you mentioned you're lending like a small amount, like $5 to each of them. So what's the range they're borrowing? How many of them are out there? How many of them you guys
Right.
are capturing? And what's the why the most important thing is why does it it's like why do they borrow the money from you? Is it like is it downward spiral or is it like actually producing a productive output for them? Like why do they borrow? Who are they? Give me a hint.
Yeah, going back to who the borrowers are, right? These are folks that don't have access to banking services, right? And so the only way they can participate in the economy is by borrowing from the microloan platforms available to them. To give you just some, we do 1 million loans a month, okay? And the average loan's $57. We know 90% of those loans are for business purposes. 60% of those loans are to business women. And so again, these are helping them participate in the economy. It helps them build confidence, again, which spills into the household, right? It's a very important for them to have this opportunity. Now, again, we're one of 400 companies that operate in Kenya. But we also offer the lowest rates, and that's why we get a lot of requests for loans. Unfortunately, I'll give you an example. Right now, we get on average 260,000 loan requests a day, but we can only fulfill 10 to 12% of that because that's all the capital we have. So it's important for us to continue to raise capital so that we can get to more people in Kenya.
Okay. Now, we can talk about more later about that. But so walk me through the journey. You're saying so first of all, like us in North America, like who doesn't have a bank account? Why don't these people have bank account? Is it because they're so poor, like they have no assets and they have no credit? Does that mean they have bad credit behavior before? Like why don't they have bank account number one? And then once they borrow from you guys, what's the money they borrow for? Like, you know?
Yeah, and I think the biggest thing to understand here is that the folks that are borrowing from the microloan platforms in Kenya, they don't have access to banks, okay? And the reason they don't have access to banks is because they don't have formal credit history or they have bad credit. And so, the correct, from a banking standpoint, they're only dealing with folks that are in the high end of making, from a money standpoint, and they must have good credit to be allowed to use the banking services, right? So when you look at there's 54 million people in Kenya. Um, 80% of these folks use the microloan platforms that are available because they don't have access to banks.
You mean 8% or 80%?
80.
80%.
Yeah.
So are you telling me that banking system is not a necessity but a luxury and like a not a norm in Africa? Is that in Kenya? Is that
Well, I can't speak for all of Africa, but just from our experience in Kenya, right? And again, it's the banking service there is very formal. You must meet certain criterias, and that means you've got to have really good credit history. And
that
unfortunately,
means
a
that means
lot of folks
oh, sorry.
don't.
So that means 30 around 32 million people in Kenya, which is the majority of the population, do not have banking system.
Right.
Wow. Okay. Okay.
I mean, Cindy, look, when I told you we get 260,000 requests a day and for microloans. And we end up turning down 85 to 90% of those requests daily because we don't have enough capital to give out.
Right.
um,
So it sounds like part of the opportunity comes from the lack of infrastructure or the current status of the banking system in Kenya, which is quite unique. Okay,
right.
now walk me through the
It's not,
journey.
and again, it's not just unique to Kenya, right? There's many other countries in Africa that are using the microloan platform.
Right.
India is using it. The Pacific Asian market is using it. South America is using it. And again, it's because there's many, many folks that don't have access to banking services.